Our top story this hour: in some relief for European countries, Russia has resumed gas supply through Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline. Now, this pipeline under the Baltic Sea that carries over one-third of EU's total gas supply, it was shut for 10 days due to maintenance work. The president of German regulator has confirmed the flow of gas from the pipeline. His tweet read, and I'm quoting here, "Gas is flowing through Nord Stream 1 again." The past hours saw more than 21 gigawatt hours of supply. Before maintenance, it was close to 30 gigawatt hours. However, full capacity stands at 70 gigawatt hours. According to data provided by Russia's state-owned energy giant Gazprom to Cascade, which is the German operator of the line, the supply is currently at 40% of the pipeline's capacity, the same reduced level as before the maintenance work started. Now, there was uncertainty over Nord Stream resuming gas supplies, as Gazprom had earlier cut flows to Germany via the vital pipeline, blaming the absence of Siemens' gas turbine that was undergoing repairs in Canada. And Putin had accused Ottawa of deliberately delaying the delivery of the turbine. However, the European Union has rejected Gazprom's explanations. The EU has accused Russia of weaponizing gas supply cuts against it. That came in the backdrop of Europe's support to Ukraine. The EU has urged member countries to cut down gas consumption by 15%, this in order to build a buffer for winters that would deal with supply shortage, as the European Commission feared that Moscow would cut gas supplies again.
Overall, the flow of Russian gas is now less than one-third to what it used to be, for example, at the same time last year. Russia is blackmailing us. Russia is using energy as a weapon. And therefore, in any event, whether it's a partial major cutoff of Russian gas or a total cutoff of Russian gas, Europe needs to be ready. We are asking the member states to reduce by 15% the gas consumption. 15%, why? This is the equivalent to 45 BCM of gas. And with such a reduction, we can make it safely through this winter in case of a complete disruption of Russian gas.
Now, last year, Russia accounted for 40% of EU's total gas imports. Experts believe any further disruption to the supply would also push consumer prices higher and raise the risk of a deep recession. Now, for more on this, our correspondent Trent Murray is joining us from Berlin. Trent, thank you for joining us. The gas flow has resumed from the Nord Stream pipeline, though at reduced capacity. We know that during the maintenance period, there were reports of a force majeure. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, that's right. We've had that confirmation this morning, local time, from the national agency that oversees the electricity and gas grid in Germany, that overnight those technical readings from the German side showed gas was starting to flow again. Now, the initial readings were at about a 30% capacity to its full capacity, but then we have heard in the past hour or so Klaus Muller, who heads up that agency, say the supplies are increasing slightly. It's up now to around 40%, but of course it's still a long way to go. But that comes after that 10-day period, as you said, where there was just no gas flowing because of what Gazprom says was necessary maintenance. And I have to say, there's quite a bit of scepticism within the ranks of the German government over all of this, because they're questioning whether the maintenance was actually needed. And the fact that kind of Russia has been turning the gas on and off and up and down a little bit, they think that this is really actually a political ploy designed to try and put pressure on the German government and to sort of scare the German people and Europe more broadly that there may not be enough energy. So while supplies have started again, in the past few hours, as you've been saying, the message still here is one of really trying to reduce energy. The government is asking people to do everything they can to reduce their energy use now. The reason for that is they want to take all of the gas that would otherwise be going to power plants at the moment and instead put it into storage for the winter.
Right. In fact, I was going to come to that. And you also mentioned pressure tactics here. Now, Russia has been accused of weaponizing gas supply, and they are trying now to build a buffer. But is there any clear plan in place for the same?
Yeah, well, the idea of building up this buffer really it's incredibly technical because it relies on getting a certain amount of gas at a certain amount of time in certain places of storage. But effectively, when you look at it simply, the government here says the national storage levels need to be over 90% by November in order for the country to effectively get through the winter. Now, right now, they're sitting just below 65%, so there's still a considerable way to go. While they are working hard to refill those storage tanks, the big issues are the fact that, of course, prices are now very, very high, meaning that utility companies are really struggling to effectively buy the gas and put it into storage. That means that we're already seeing some state bailouts from the taxpayer of even the biggest firms to help them get through this period. But then the other issue, of course, is with this heat wave in Europe, you are seeing electricity use up in some places, especially where there is air conditioning. And so that is why perhaps the amount of gas going into the storage tanks is difficult to keep the levels up, because the power grid does still need some of it in order to keep the lights on.
Right, absolutely. And you mentioned 90% there. Also, there's been another figure that's been given to the citizens. That's 15%. That's how much they need to save. But how does that actually work out?
So the plan overall by the European Union is still a draft proposal to get that sort of 15% cut to gas levels over the bloc, and that's because what you obviously see when you look at a map of Europe is that it's all interconnected, of course, across borders. So, you know, many gas pipelines from here in Germany, they go into France, into Belgium. So what you need is a unified approach. Now, whilst on paper that sounds good, and in Brussels they really want that to happen, it's difficult because you need all countries to agree, and already some of the southern European states like Spain, which aren't having this problem, they've said things like, quote, "Unlike other countries, we Spaniards have not lived beyond our means from an energy point of view." That was the energy minister there. So effectively signalling they may not be ready to kind of join this joint agreement to help their northern neighbours. So still some work to go in all of that. But again, the real feeling is that at any moment, Russia could just cut off gas supplies entirely. And if that happens, then really we could be in some serious trouble, both economically and just from a grid stability point of view as well.
Right, absolutely. Well, Trent, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.